What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Peanut Gallery Podcast, episode 42. Seth, what's up, man? How's it going?
I'll tell you what.
What?
So there's a lot of games coming out this fall.
Okay.
There's Super Mario Odyssey,
Yes.
which some people would say is a big deal. There's also an Assassin's Creed game that's pretty exciting.
Big deal.
But I'll tell you what, man. I found one of the most amazing games I've played literally all year. Like, I really do think it's one of the best made games all year.
Game of the year.
Game of the year. It's literally making paper clips. It's this stupid freaking Flash. I don't know if it's Flash because it's just text.
Yeah.
It's a paperclip game. It's basically like an economy simulator kind of. Dude, it's so freaking good. And I got you hooked on it, I think.
You got me hooked on it, and now I'm making paper clips.
As you record this, he's busy spitting out paper clips.
But listen, it's not just making paper clips, okay? It's investing in the stock market. It's increasing your production.
There's moral dilemmas on whether or not to do some kind of maybe ethically gray things. And you haven't even gotten to the good part, man.
I know.
Like, it's so good. And I highly recommend all of you guys going and play it. It's
really depressing that the stock market doesn't work how it actually does in this game.
I wish you just dump money and you were guaranteed returns.
Or you could just watch like the amount of money you're making go up by like thousands.
Yeah, unless you go to the high risk like you did, because you're a freaking idiot, man. I'm pretty much an accountant.
Who was making negative returns in the market when you played?
We all make mistakes. How's your week going though?
It's been good, man. Just school, just pretty much a normal week for me. School and working. It's
you
really
couldn't have made something exciting to say during the
really
podcast.
Come up with anything exciting at all.
Right.
Other than, this is the highlight of my week. Really, I sit around and wait to record that we can complain and fix the world's problems.
That is sad.
That's what we do.
Yep. All right. Well, why don't we start doing it?
All right, guys. Well, this is the Peanut Gallery Podcast. If you didn't already know, this is the place that we provide our completely insignificant and unprofessional opinions about the most important and significant topics of the day. I'm your host, Jared, and with me, as always, is Seth, and we're going to jump right into what was nuts this week. All right, guys, we are back, and we're just going to get right into it this week. So the first kind of thing that we're going to be talking about is the Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts.
Well, really, it's the biggest divide that's hit this country in a long time. I mean, we're doing well as a country, right? Generally, people just love each other. We're doing golden, but there's been this kind of a little bit of a divide that's happening between the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts, and it's a big deal. We need to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a big deal. This could cause massive repercussions with our society.
It could enlighten us.
Okay. So basically what happened is the Boy Scouts of America came out today and announced that they were going to be allowing girls to join the Cub Scouts and then young women to join the Boy Scouts and be able to advance for the Eagle Scout ranking. Which
so the Boy Scouts is having the
girls come in. Right.
Got it.
Right. So, and then the Eagle Scout that they're going to allow them to get now, they said they want to have women... Or they specified it being young or girls being in the Cub Scouts and young women as Eagle Scouts. I don't know why. There is an age difference, but whatever. But to get this Eagle Scout ranking, and I don't know if you know much. Like, I had a couple friends that when I was growing up, Eagle Scouts is like a super big deal. It's a lot of work. You have to do a lot of public service things. You have to do a giant project at the end. I actually helped out two of my really good friends with their Eagle Scout projects. We renovated a whole park, and then we made a canoe. And it's very prestigious, and it's a big deal, and it's great on your resume. It shows you that you did something, whatever. But actually, the Girl Scouts came out. So you would think the way society works that everyone would be on board, right? This is what feels like. This is what people want. Like, why do we have exclusiveness? Why can't everybody do everything? Who cares about gender? But actually, the Girl Scouts are not a fan of this. The Girl Scouts have actually come out and publicly said they do not like this.
Well, because if the Boy Scouts starts taking Girl Scouts, there's no reason for there to be a Girl Scouts.
Yes, or vice versa.
So
what the Girl Scouts actually came out and said is that the Boy Scouts' house is on fire, and they said that instead of addressing systemic issues of continuing sexual assault, financial mismanagement, and deficient programming, the Boy Scouts of America's senior management wants to add an accelerant to the house fire by recruiting girls.
And they're not wrong.
Shots fired. Yeah, because there has been some weird sexual assault things with certain scout masters and kids throughout the years. reminiscent of the Catholic Church, I think. But I don't know much about the financial aspect, but if you do look at the membership, the Boy Scouts of America were at like 2.6 million back in 2013. Currently, they're at 2.3, so they've lost a little bit. But surprisingly, they haven't lost nearly as much as the Girl Scouts of America. Yeah. Because they went from 2.8 in 2012 to now 1.6 this year.
See, I don't know.
They've lost a ton.
I don't know any girls who have ever done Girl Scouts, but I know plenty of boys. My brother did Boy Scouts. I've known plenty of guys who've done Boy Scouts. Yeah, he did.
But here's the real question. I bet you know about Girl Scout cookies. Everybody knows about Girl Scout cookies.
That's true. They have contributed.
So if there's one thing that they need to keep doing, it's making cookies.
Keep that up.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No.
So what do you think about this? Though?
I think it's stupid. I don't freaking care.
So okay, if you have to though, if you have to get involved,
if I have to care,
if you have to care. Is it dumb? Should Boy Scouts be Boy Scouts, or should Boy Scouts be Girl Scouts plus Boy Scouts?
I've heard there have been people talking about this all over the internet, and I saw a lot of instances of mothers of daughters saying they're so glad this is a thing because I guess there's a lot of red tape in regards to the Girl Scouts. Like, to take girls on a camping trip or something, there's like classes they have to take and stuff, and like just to do something simple, there's a lot of like policies and stuff they have to go through. Whereas Boy Scouts, there doesn't seem to be, and people have publicly been like, "Oh, I'm so happy because Boy Scouts is so much easier." Which, whatever. And I mean, honestly, we were talking earlier, like, why not just make it Scouts?
Yeah, if you're gonna allow girls in, obviously, don't call it the Boy Scouts anymore. If you're gonna have girls in, you just call it Scouts. Just
change it to Scouts. And I do like. I mean, if I'm like, again, I'm not 100% an expert on this, but if the Eagle Scout was something that was restricted to only Boy Scouts, great if women can do it. Like, if they can keep the standards the same, and there's really nothing that, because I helped with a couple, there's nothing that's involved with getting an Eagle Scout badge that a woman couldn't do. Like, it's not like anything crazy. Like, you don't have to go freaking take a canoe to freaking England. Like, there's nothing crazy you have to do.
Oh, you're saying a girl couldn't do that?
That's true. I'm sorry. I probably couldn't do that either. But no, there's nothing crazy. So, like, if that was something that was held back from them, and I don't think there's anything in the Girl Scouts that is as prestigious. Prestigious?
Or why? Well, because the main reason people will get an Eagle Scout, right, is probably because it looks good on a resume. It looks great. But counter proposal, if no girls ever have Eagle Scouts on their resume because no girls can get it,
I don't think there's any reason a girl couldn't get it. There's no reason.
No, I'm saying like no girl needs it on their resume because if they're going into, try and interview for a job or something like that, no other girl is going to have it on their resume.
Yeah, I know, but what if that's the reason for the pay gap?
There you go. Yeah.
No, but I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day, let's just make it Scouts. Whatever. I mean, I know there's a lot of politics then because then like it used to be
what if you go on a camping trip? And
exactly.
You'll
probably need a woman counselor and a male counselor, which makes sense. Maybe another non-binary counselor. Who freaking knows?
Well, because C plus Scouts, especially when my brother was doing it, it was like it was mainly like a father-son kind of thing.
Yeah.
They would go out with other fathers and sons. Typically, oftentimes, a lot of times there was a religious aspect if the tribe leaders wanted to do or what. Tribe leaders.
Tribe leaders.
I'm going to call it a tribe
Scout
leader.
leaders.
Scout leader, yeah, wanted to do that. And then just kind of, I don't know, having girls in the mix, especially when you have like Cub Scouts and younger Boy Scouts. That's the age where
it seems
where
to make
guys
sense.
are like wanting to go after anything that has boobs. So
but younger than that, where they're just the cooties and they're not interested,
or even that in Cub Scouts.
I think there is something important about, like you said, fathers and son going out and doing like a man's trip, and that's probably not PC to say nowadays. But why does it have to be a man's trip? Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think personally, like that's something that I'm looking forward to doing with my son. Like going out and having a bonding time, and
maybe having him get to know other guys there instead of maybe getting distracted with the girls.
Yeah, or getting distracted with the guys. Who knows? No, I'm just kidding. No, but yeah, I mean, honestly, was it really an issue? Like, what? I would love to know the motive for the Boy Scouts.
Why do that? Like, if there's the Girl Scouts and the Girl Scouts is fine, and there's the Boy Scouts and that's fine. Why need to include it?
Exactly. So it does seem like it could be maybe to boost their numbers, or maybe it could be to kind of curb certain criticisms. I haven't really heard much criticizing the Boy Scouts. I haven't really heard them being like, why aren't girls allowed? Because there has been a separate but equal thing of the Girl Scouts, so I don't know.
I know there was controversy with the Boy Scouts not allowing gay Scoutmasters and stuff like that, but they caved on that, and they're allowed to have gay Scoutmasters now, and now another issue's come up, and they've caved, and now there's allowed there to be women in the Boy Scouts.
But has there been an issue? That's the other thing. Like Girl Scouts.
Yeah, I don't know if it's really been an issue. Yeah,
I don't know. I really, at the end of the day, though, does it really matter?
It's like switching something up that doesn't necessarily need to be switched up.
And like you said, then what happens to Girl Scouts? Like, do they become helping boys in, or is it, no, this is the girls exclusive and this is the co-ed?
Yeah.
Which is
weird.
I
mean, I personally don't care at all because this doesn't affect me in any way at all. But I'm sure there's plenty of parents that has boys, or maybe they were an Eagle Scout and they were looking forward to
another thing.
Going through that with their son and having him be an Eagle Scout. And I would probably be ticked off if I were in their situation.
Well, it doesn't take anything away from the men.
No, not necessarily, but it kind of adds another aspect of building a relationship. And I think the main thing is kind of
maybe you can get a merit badge for like the first date or something now.
Who knows? But anyways, that's what's happening. Yep. So it's official, right? That's happening. They're allowing.
They announced it. Yep. So we'll see. I mean, we have yet to see what they're back. They haven't really responded to what the Girl Scouts have said. So we'll have to see how that happens. But the next thing we're going to talk about, I think is super fascinating.
Yeah.
Is Google.
It's fascinating and kind of creepy at the same time.
It's a little bit
necessity
creepy.
Almost now with how far we've come.
I don't know if it's a necessity, but it's become so normalized.
It's come so normalized, exactly, yeah.
So if you guys are like under a rock, or not even under a rock really, because it hasn't really been out yet, Google had a big conference announcement. They announced a couple new products a couple weeks ago, and one of them was what they call the Google Home Mini, which if you've heard of the Amazon Echo, that's kind of like the biggest one. It's like a home assistant speaker, smart assistant. You can talk to it, you can ask it questions, play music, whatever. Google came out with their own version of it a couple years back, I think 2 years ago now, maybe 1 year.
Yeah.
But now essentially what they have is they have a little version of it, which is kind of like the Echo Dot, which I actually have. It's called the Google Home Mini, and what it does is
that's a creative name.
Yeah, I know, right? It's smaller.
Mini. Like, let's just name it Mini, and we'll make a.
I don't know. It's kind of cute. It's a cute little dot. I don't know. It's whatever.
Because anything that's smaller is cute.
Yep. Like the dogs
for some reason.
Yeah. But so it's this little home assistant where it's a little speaker. You can ask it questions. You can say like, "Okay, Google, what time is it?" or "What's the weather tomorrow?" or "Can you set an alarm for whatever?" And it will respond to you. You can answer text messages, play music, whatever. It just has a smaller speaker than the bigger one that they have out. And a reviewer got this, right? Mm-hmm. So a reviewer got it, and if you guys aren't into the tech scene, tech people will get products, review them, and say, okay, this is a good product, this is a bad product, and you can kind of use that to kind of gauge whether or not you might want to buy it. He gave it a glowing review, but actually after he was done with his review, he went back and looked, and you could see through the he noticed there's 4 dots that light up on the little dot when it's working, when it's listening to you.
Got it.
And you notice they were always on. He's like, that's kind of weird. Why are they always on? And what you can
because they heavily advertise this, right? Because people are sketchy if this thing's listening to them all the time.
Correct.
It's only supposed to be listening if you say, okay, Google,
yeah,
right?
In their terms of service or whatever you call it, content policy, they say that it is not always listening to you. So, and the way they preference that is saying it is always listening to you.
But it only records anything if you say, okay,
if it hears the keyword, which is okay, Google. Because think about it. If this thing is here and you say, okay, Google, and it hears you, it's got to be always listening.
It has to be always listening.
Yeah, but what they say is it records anything, and it deletes it if it doesn't hear the keyword. But the problem was actually the television this guy had was triggering his dot to his Mini to always listen, and they actually had records of all of his conversations for as long as he had it.
Yeah,
which is an invasion of privacy, breaks Google's code, breaks ethical code, moral code.
For sure.
And he contacted Google about this. And to many people's surprise, Google got back to him within like 10 minutes. They sent out a team to go get his Echo. I keep saying Echo. They sent out a team to go get his Google Home Mini to look at it to see what's going on because it's not the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And what they found out was there's a physical, you can tap the Mini and then speak to it instead of saying, okay, Google. So there's a physical press you can do and then say, but what was happening was there was some kind of software glitch where that tap was always being registered.
Yeah.
So it was always listening. And what happens is it records all of your commands to it, so you can go back and look. Again, these should only be things that are triggered with OK Google.
Exactly.
But since it was always being technically on, it was recording everything.
Yeah.
Which invasion of privacy. But Google quickly put out a software update. They basically what they did is they disabled this button's ability to do anything, so you can no longer tap or anything to kind of just nullify the situation. And this has kind of brought up a point. Or not a point, but a conversation of what should we do about this? Should we be outraged? Should we be glad that Google was so quick to fix this? Was this a problem? Was this intentional? Was it really an accident? What do you think?
Do they try this? Or even if it's going to affect the sales of the home mini, if people think that might happen.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
know what I mean? Because so many people see the initial story, and I guarantee you more people see the story than they see the correction in Google's response, because that's just kind of how it works. But I mean, you know me. We've had conversations about Google. I'm pretty skeptical about Google and Google's leanings and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think that they did this on purpose. One, because if they really wanted to do this in a way where they didn't want their consumers to find out, I'm pretty sure that they would be able to do that. If they really wanted to, it'd be no problem for them. So for them to automatically have the dots always on, and then for him to just pull up a transcript and it be all right there, it seems like a technical mistake to me.
I totally agree. I really do think this was an accident. I think it was a great response on Google that looks great. And I don't know what's going on the insides of Google. I have kind of given my life to Google. I mean, I use a Pixel phone. I love Google, my Gmail. I have my Gmail. I have Google Drive. We do this podcast on Google Drive. I mean, kind of all of our information's on there. Yeah. So, I mean, I just kind of, I trust them enough. But it is something that needs to be in our minds. I mean, we have kind of been giving up privacy for convenience.
Oh, yeah.
Because we do have speakers and cameras all around us.
Absolutely.
And it's something that we kind of just need to be aware of. And at this point, you're kind of screwed. There's no place you're really going to go that you're going to be out of the reach of some kind of technology.
Do you think that because, like you were saying, like you have cameras on your computer, you have cameras on your phone, you have microphones on your computer,
cameras on cars,
you have microphones on your phone, you have cameras on cars. Like, do you think it's a safe bet to say that right now you're pretty much always being recorded at all times?
We are definitely being recorded.
We are being recorded. That is very true.
Yeah,
but like, if someone really wanted to bad enough pull up the information of the conversation that you had and your phone was right near you, do you think that they would be able to, or do you think it's to the point where it really is deleting conversations and it's really not actually...
The cynic in me would say yes, but I really don't think so. I think we're still okay. I mean, yes, there has been things of Samsung TVs recording people without them showing that they're actually on. I mean, there has been constant issues, and I just love when people put like the little post-it dots on their laptop camera. And it's like you realize you carry around a phone with you that has 2 cameras on it, bunch of mics, and the person next to you probably has the same exact thing. Like, you're always gonna, you have the ability to record it pretty much all the time.
That's the thing. You can't stop a mic. You can't put a sticker over a mic, right? No. Like, I would rather, if it's gonna come down to one or the other, I would rather disable a mic than a video.
Yeah, you'd be muted.
I mean,
I don't know.
Anyways, but
it's just something to think about. We're kind of past the point of no return, and I think it's something we need to think about. How much are we going to give up for convenience?
Yeah,
and I mean, these assistants are very early. They aren't super convenient. They're kind of nice. They're beginning to be more useful, and I think they will continue to be more useful because that's what's going to sell. Obviously, is more useful products. People are going to want to buy them. But then you have to think about, like, you have a couple dots in your home, and you have a smart TV, and you have a smartphone. I mean, the TV can hear you usually. I mean, you have the cameras on the TV maybe for webcam.
Dots can hear you.
You got the dots that can hear you. I mean, you just kind of got to be cognizant. And as we've kind of seen, there really isn't anyone that's immune to being hacked.
Yeah.
I mean, if a hacker wants to get at you, probably, I mean, yeah, and it's basically a crappy situation because basically you'd have to just go off the grid Ron Swanson style if you wanted to have anything.
Get rid of everything.
Get rid of everything, including the pictures in the freaking local restaurants.
And then how do you live in society at that point?
So at this point, you kind of have to accept that there's a chance that you're being recorded.
Yeah.
And, I mean, as you'll find out in my triggered below, I mean, you can just be smart about what the frick you're recording.
Absolutely. But no, I mean, I think it definitely raises interesting questions, man. How far will we go in the name of convenience to give up our security? But we'll see. That's where we throw it back to you guys. Tell us what you think in the comments section below. One last thing we kind of want to mention before we get into the main topic. We did just recently did a video on Eminem's freestyle at the BETs. That was kind of a big story that's happened this week. It's been covered everywhere. Yeah, so you can check out that video. The link is in the description below. But we're going to move right into the main topic. All right, guys, we are back, and we're going to move right into the main topic right now. And kind of probably one of the biggest stories this week that's been going around is the whole Harvey Weinstein issue. And not a good guy.
Nope. As it turns out, not a great person.
Not a great person.
Allegedly. I really don't I don't think he's been charged for anything, but the evidence is based...
But when there's like 500 people that come out saying the same thing, it's probably not going to bode well for that person. Yeah, I mean, if the evidence was a mountain,
he would be underneath it.
No.
So yeah, I mean, you guys have probably seen it's been all over the news. Harvey Weinstein is a big Hollywood executive. I forget his exact role.
He's produced a ton of movies. He co-started the I think it's called the Weinstein Company back in like 2006, and then before that he started another company, starts with an M. I don't know the exact name of it, but he produced movies like The King's Speech and a couple other. He's made a big ton of movies, and he works a lot with different casting firms, so he's like in charge of casting roles for movies.
Powerful, very successful, and he's kind of, as it's found out, has used that to take advantage of women.
Yes,
and it's been kind of disgusting, honestly. Like, this is disgusting. This is something that we should all rally behind and say it's unacceptable and just not have any part of it. Yeah. He has been fired from his job. Mm-hmm. He has said he said, I have heard that he is going to fight some of the accusations, but it sounds like it's like, well, that one was wrong.
I can fight some of the, but that one was spot on.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
but so there's been a bunch of actresses that have come out and said that yes, there has been awkward situations involving me and Harvey, and
not, by the way, not just actresses that could gain from the publicity of saying this. Actresses like Angelina Jolie.
Yep.
What's the other? Gwyneth
Paltrow. Yeah. There's been some big name. There also has been smaller, but there has been big name people that said that.
Absolutely.
I mean, he is so like powerful and influential that they said they felt like they couldn't speak out.
And honestly, these stories are really disgusting because I went through to kind of prepare for this a little bit. I knew we were going to be talking about it, and I read a little bit of kind of the incidences of some of what these women said and how he would be so manipulative because apparently he kind of had a reputation for this for years.
So that's the other part of the story. It's not only the part of him doing this, but it's also the kind of general feeling, and some people have actually outright said it,
in this
that it's been a known thing that he does this, and it's kind of just been one of those, don't talk about it, we won't talk about it in Hollywood, but we all understand this happens. Yeah. And that's almost grosser.
Oh, totally. Like, because they would say some of the tactics, like he would try and meet up with a girl that he's possibly trying to cast for a film or something, and he'd be like, but there's another female agent there that you're going to meet afterwards, kind of thing, and she'll be there in the interview. And then the person will agree to it, and they'll all three be there, and then he'll just kind of dismiss the female who was there in the room to make the other lady feel safe, and then it's just them two.
Yeah, and then he'd meet them in bathrobes. He'd try to massage them.
Ask for
really gross stuff. Try to kiss them.
Yeah,
and it's super disgusting. I mean, pretty much it's been universal condemnation on this. I mean,
absolutely.
You've seen a lot of people speak out on it, and it's great. He did come out with his statement, which I thought was ridiculous. His statement was that I came of age in the 60s and 70s when all the rules about behavior and workplace were different. That was the culture then. I have since learned it's not an excuse in the office or out of it to anyone. I realized some time ago that I needed to be a better person, and my interaction with the people that I work with have changed. So he kind of admitted to it.
So he's since learned that it's not okay to force yourself on people.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. How noble of him. That's incredible.
That's not an excuse.
No, dude.
Like, to play dumb. Like, are you kidding me?
And besides, none of this stuff wasn't legal at all in the 60s or 70s. So even if it was more, quote, widely accepted in Hollywood or in that industry, it's still illegal. It's still immoral behavior.
And you're still a horrible person for doing it.
Like, absolutely.
No, he's kind of just a piece of garbage, I think, personally.
100%.
Never met him. Probably never will.
Hopefully
Who knows?
never
Maybe
will.
this gets big and we meet him. Probably not.
I don't want to
But
meet
it's
him,
just,
man.
it's honestly just gross. And I hate, like, it's gross on a multiple levels, like we said. Yes, what he did is gross, and I also think it's gross how people have been calling out Obama and Hillary for not immediately dismissing him because
he's a huge donor.
He has been, campaigns. Exactly. They've been close. Hillary has come out and said it's disgusting. I mean, to take the focus off of him in this situation is the wrong thing to do.
To blame anybody else but him is
right.
The wrong
This
thing.
is his problem. He did this. This is on him. I don't care if Hillary takes a week to dismiss. Like, no one's on board for this. I'm sorry. I don't like Hillary. I do not think that she would be okay with this. Maybe she had inklings of it. You're going to dismiss this. We all think this is gross. This is on Harvey. To change the narrative and say we need to talk about why Hillary hasn't responded is a disservice to all the women he has affected. This is about them and their interactions with this disgusting pervert Harvey. There is talk about the 17-year-old. It's gross, man. And his statement of basically saying, well, I did this, but it was back in I was okay raised in a different time, so it's okay.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It doesn't hold up.
No, I'm
sorry.
I think it's definitely an issue, and if you're blaming other people for his conduct, that's definitely a problem. I mean, like we said, he's been a big donor for Democratic campaigns in the past, but I don't believe that Obama was probably okay with it. Hillary, she was okay with sexual immoral conduct with her husband just fine.
That's true.
But I mean, either way,
it's a different story.
Either way, though, they're getting money from a contributor, and there's money in politics that's not going to go away anytime soon at all. And it's not their job to do homework on everyone who donates. To
it's
them.
The same really instance where you can't judge Trump on his supporters,
and there's been
you
pictures
can't judge
of
them
Trump
on theirs.
Yeah, there's been people who have come after Trump, oh, this is a picture of him and Harvey Weinstein together, they're fine too, and it's no, it's not. It's the same kind of
you don't know the demons they have in their closet. Again, it does seem like this kind of more out of the closet than in the closet because everyone kind of knew.
Yeah,
maybe that's another thing I think we really need to talk about. That's another thing. This needs to start a discussion.
Does it is the blame on if someone knows something's happening and they don't speak up? Is it immoral of them to do that? I just think that's an interesting philosophical question. Even though they're not doing anything wrong.
Well, they're allowing things to go we know for a fact there were people that worked for Harvey that would set up these meetings or leave after, or we know there were other people
I agree
involved.
If they're complicit in setting up meetings, but say there's been accusations that Ben Affleck knew about it, but he didn't speak up or anything. Is he morally obligated, or is it immoral of him to not speak up if he knew about it?
Personally,
I
would say as soon as you know something like this is going on, you need to speak up.
Interesting. Okay.
But at the same time, I am not a super successful movie star that could have their career ruined by talking up when no one else will defend you, because this is one of those things that it's been great that all of these women have come out now.
Yeah.
But a lot of them said they didn't come out before because they would have lost their careers, because he is a big deal. And if other women didn't come forward, they would be shunned and thrown out immediately. Yes. Because it's power in numbers in this situation. You know what I'm saying? One woman saying this happened to her, I mean, we need to figure out, is this true? We're not to dismiss anybody that has rape accusations. But
you're innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly.
But
when there's 50 women, it makes it a more powerful statement.
Yes.
But you also don't know who's going to speak forward because, again, a lot of women would have put their lives on the line, their careers on the line, had they spoken up when this immediately happened, because there was a lot when they were starting out.
And
when you're starting out, it's intimidating.
There was a 17-year-old, a 20-year-old. I mean, a lot of these people were in their early 20s. They wanted a career, and here's this guy who could literally make them rich and famous, everything that they want.
And he just was a little inappropriate. Maybe we'll just toss it to the side, And
it's a horrible position for anyone to be in, because I feel for them. I would love for them to have reported it, and then maybe this guy wouldn't have been able to do it to other people. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, can you really fault them for not going out and accusing them?
That's the hard thing.
Because honestly, if just one person did it at a time, they could probably shut them up.
Yeah,
and then they would.
There were a couple women that came out that had settlement cases with Harvey. Because there has been kind of a history of things that have been going on.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, but what sparked a more fascinating conversation as well. Also, you had people like Terry Crews come out. I don't know if you've seen a picture of Terry Crews.
Not a small guy.
Jack dude, man. Yeah. If anybody's intimidating, I mean, him and The Rock are up there.
Yeah.
But Terry Crews came out and said that he had been inappropriately groped by a male executive before as well, recently.
Yeah.
And he wanted to punch him, but he didn't, because he knew the news stories that would have came forward would have been 240-pound black man punches Hollywood honcho because this guy has a higher prestige. You don't know who he's talking about.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if he gets groped and sexually assaulted by a male, it makes total sense that this would happen to these women, right? I mean, it would be hard. Yeah.
No,
but
totally
I feel like it is a different situation because it would have been his career, and I do think we would have seen we don't know who would have came to the guy's defense, and like we said, when it's one person, it's easier to take a
huge name in Hollywood.
Exactly, it's easy. So when you see a lot of people, it's a much bigger deal.
It brings up kind of really a trend that I think that a lot of people know is there, but don't kind of want to admit to it. But this kind of sexual conduct that happens in high places of businesses or in elite positions like Hollywood. But we saw, of course, Roger Ailes with Fox News. He had a ton of sexual allegations.
You had Bill O'Reilly just recently.
Bill O'Reilly, who
but we don't
that,
know. I don't know what ever happened.
I mean, there's still allegations, just settlements that happen. Yeah. He wasn't ever accused. But, I mean, still, you have multiple reports of women filing these complaints, and then you also have it over here in Hollywood. And Terry Crews, when he talked about it, he commented on kind of the the sexual conduct and how it can be forced in Hollywood, and especially in the music industry too. Yeah. There's a lot of that kind of favor for favor thing
weird
that happens
kind of thing
that people don't really want to think about, and it's definitely a problem.
And if like say you're coming up and whatever role you got through Harvey, and you make it big, then you kind of got to think, well, was it worth it? Like, sure, he sexually assaulted. Like, he tried to come on to me, but I got out of the situation. Because a lot of these women did say they got out of the situation, but it was an awkward situation where he tried to kiss them or tried to give them a massage or ask them to take a shower with him or something. But they got out of it or whatever. But then they made it big, and it's like, well, was it worth it? You know? Yeah. And it's hard questions, but it is gross.
It's 100%.
I think it's just gross. That's the only way to really describe it.
I mean, yeah, man. I don't really know what else you can say for that. I think it's interesting. It'll be interesting to just kind of see what happens to him.
He has been fired. He did say he was going to fight some of the accusations, but not all of them. I mean, in his statement, you kind of heard he kind of admitted to some of it, or just saying, yes, I did some bad things, not anything specific.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think he's I don't know what he's worth, but probably millions, if not billions. He's probably fine financially. He never has to work a day in his life again.
Yeah, and I don't think he'll go to prison for any of these.
Probably not, which is we can get into a whole conversation on why celebrities can do whatever the frick they want and never get in trouble. But we'll move on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Something that I want to talk about is kind of is you brought up earlier when we were just having a conversation. You were talking about nuance in society, basically how there's almost no in between anymore,
right?
And how people if there's an issue that comes up, it just draws a line in the sand. Take a line from Eminem. But it's really true, man. It draws a line in the sand, and then okay, you're either here or you're here, and kind of there's a ton of issues that this falls upon, but kind of the most infamous one right now is the NFL the kneeling for the national anthem, right? You're either for the right of these people to kneel and protest. I guess they're protesting police brutality and racism in America, right? Or you're over here and you think that these people are disrespecting veterans in society, and you think that they're completely 100% wrong, and there's no in between. Right. Where maybe these people are approaching the situation the wrong way, and yeah, it's not smart to probably kneel for the national anthem because it's a unifying movement, but maybe they're not criticizing the military. Maybe they're bringing up an issue that they think is valid, and whether it's valid or not, we're going to probably do a video here. Next week we want to do a video and actually talk about the breakdown of police shootings and police, if there is really
it's something we
profiling
need to talk about,
police racism. But we're going to talk about that in a later video next week. But it's one or the other. You have to come down on one line, right?
Right. So that's it's something that's kind of come to the forefront of my mind this week. With the NFL, Mike Pence, we're going to talk about the Mike Pence situation when he was in Dallas, as well as honestly, I think the Eminem track, because I think we're seeing basically you're either on one side or the other side. And I'm like, why can't we be in the middle with? Which I think we kind of did a good job in the video, is kind of discussing, well, maybe there's parts of it you can pull out. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so what kind of spurred this was Mike Pence went to it was a Dallas Cowboys game. Yeah. They knelt for the anthem and he left.
Yeah.
Right. And he left and he tweeted out saying, it was a Colts game, sorry. He said, I left the Colts game because POTUS and I will not dignify any event that disrespects our soldiers, our flag, or our national anthem. And he was saying because they knelt, it was respecting all those. I left. I didn't want to be there. All right. Sure. Whatever. You can do what you want. But then you had a rapper come out. And this rapper is named Killer Mike. He was big in the Bernie campaign, actually. He actually went out to polls and helped Bernie. It was really kind of cool to see him not only just shilling for a political, but actually doing the work. Like, he would be at the stations helping out with as much as he could. So that's kind of cool. But he came out, and what he said in regards to Mike Pence was, I wonder how he feels about the Constitution, the document that contains the principles this republic is founded on. The first being free speech. Free speech is what protects this and any protest. The Constitution that guards against tyranny like the state abusing and denying citizens full rights. You know the stuff that promoted the kneel. The kneel is to bring awareness to the public that officers of the law are playing judge, jury, and executioner, therefore denying American citizens their constitutional rights because they are a racial minority. So he was really mad at Mike Pence and saying, well, how could you walk out because you're denying freedom of speech, whatever. The problem I have with this when I saw this was Mike Pence walked out stating that he will not dignify an event that is disrespecting soldiers, our flag, or our national anthem.
Yes.
Then you have Killer Mike and a lot of people on the left coming out saying, well, how can you do this? This is freedom of speech. They're just trying to bring awareness to the public about, literally they mention racial problems.
Yes.
These two people, mad at each other, are not talking about the same things.
Yeah.
They're literally not talking. One's talking about disrespecting soldiers, flag, and national anthem, and one's talking about police being racist or racial minority or problems with race.
Yeah.
They're on opposite sides of an argument that they're not having the same argument.
Yes.
And it's a problem because pretty much the majority of people now, when you see someone kneeling for the flag, you're just saying because it has been promoted by the president and right media that they're disrespecting the military and the flag. But then you have the people that are actually doing it saying, no, we're actually doing it for to talk about race. And it's like, it's probably not the best way to do it, right? Because it is kind of disrespectful. But we have this situation where you have to be on one side or the other. Yeah. And you can't come in the middle and be like, you guys aren't talking about the same things.
Yeah.
You know? And with the Eminem thing, like, everyone just dismissed. I actually saw people on my Instagram timeline saying, will the real Slim Shady please sit down? And then going through a whole rant about it, not understanding at all what he was talking about, dismissing the whole thing because they were just taking as another celebrity coming out against Trump. I actually unfollowed them because, like, you obviously don't know what you're talking about. You're one of the problem that where it's either left or right. And a lot of these issues are not left and right. It's not black and white. It's not one's right, one's wrong. Maybe there's parts of this and parts of this that we can bring together and find something in the middle, and that's nuance. And nuance is lost in the conversation because it has to be you're on this side or that side now, and it's freaking annoying. And you can't get real conversations with a lot of people because they are so polarized. And as soon as you start saying anything about one side, they put you in a camp that you might not be a part of. Like we were talking about with police shootings. Yes, there are some cops that are bad, and when we see a shooting, and when the ones that make the news are when a white cop kills a black guy, there has been issues. There has been instances where it was wrong, and the white cop is in the wrong. And I want to be like, yes, this is bad. But then as soon as you do, you have the people on the far right saying, "Oh, you hate cops." And then you have the people on the left saying, "Oh, I'm glad you're a part of our cause." And I'm like, I am not part of your cause. I am saying in this instance, it was wrong. But there has also been instances where they were in the right that have gone through the systems, and we figured out that they were justified in what they did. Yeah. And we can't, like, most people cannot understand that both of these can be okay. You know what I'm saying? Not okay, but like you can have an instance where a cop did the wrong thing, and we can have an instance where a cop did the right thing.
Yeah.
And sure, there's a conversation to be had on the fact that there have been people getting killed by cops.
So
it's just, but you can't, because as soon as you pick one side, the other side hates you.
Yeah. Even
if you're not even a part of that side.
Yeah.
And you're seeing that also with the left and the right garbage, which we kind of promote, but at the same time we try to separate right and right, left, liberal, conservative. Because those are different things. The left is not what we call liberals. I mean, the right is not conservatives. It's gotten really weird, and that's kind of just the way the world is. It's gray. There's many layers to this stuff, and it's not a simple answer.
So what do you think has caused this lack of nuance, this lack of any kind of gray area? Stupidity.
No, not that's just the easy answer. No,
I would say that it kind of comes down to a lack of factual information. Obviously, it comes down to people's political biases because that plays a huge role in whatever narrative they're trying to promote. But I think it comes down to a huge lack of actual statistics and facts to back up whatever they're talking about. So
emotion over information.
I 100% agree. And I 100% agree that there's people on both sides that go to the extremes and you can't have a conversation in the middle. But my question would be, is it even justifiable to to be mad at someone. So say you're on the left and you're kneeling for the flag, right, for the national anthem, and then someone on the right is saying you're disrespecting the national anthem, the nation, and the military, which the flag is obviously symbols of that. It's symbols of other things too, like law enforcement. But if they're saying, no, it's not about this, it's about law enforcement, but then they're kneeling to protest something that's statistically untrue with law enforcement, is it even something that is like worth arguing about? Or like, are they justified in doing it at all whatsoever?
What do you mean justified? What do you mean justified?
Justified as in, is it... I don't
like
really
they're allowed to do it.
Like,
Who cares?
Sure, they're allowed to do it, but like, I guess it's not even worth warranting a response. Maybe I don't know what you say about it. It shouldn't be a big
deal. You should just be like, you're kind of stupid for. Like I understand.
Like you're just completely wrong in what you're doing, and you're protesting
well, they're not
something
wrong,
that's
right. It's what I mean.
Their feelings are wrong.
We don't know that.
Statistically, they're wrong.
Sure.
So whatever feelings they have, they might have a feeling because they have a personal story about it that's horrible. But if your stance on it is that police officers are racially profiling and shooting and treating African Americans injusticeably, statistically you're wrong in that to say that.
Right.
So like, is you know what, I don't know if I'm getting this point across that well.
It's hard to talk, but the problem is I think that's the conversations we need to have. Whereas right now,
you're not able to have that.
No, you're not, because you have the person kneeling, and then you have the person saying, "You're an idiot. You're kneeling. Why are you disrespecting America? I hate you. I'm not going to listen to you." And then they're like, "Well, no, that's not why I'm kneeling." And you're like, "Nope, you're kneeling." And then the conversation gets ended, and both sides retreat further apart.
Yeah,
scream at each other. No one listens. And then we end up being like, couple people in the middle are like, what's going on, guys? Why are we doing this?
I think a great way to have conversations with people, if you don't agree with what they're trying to promote, is just to ask them questions to get down to what they really believe. The Socratic method, right? Okay, why do you believe this? Because police officers are racially profiling this. Okay.
Can you understand the information?
Yeah, where's the statistics to back it up? Because if it's there, I'll stand by you all the way and support you. If it's not, then maybe you should change your opinion on it and speak out against other things.
But it's also it's hard to have a conversation like that when people have been personally affected, because emotion is powerful. It's way more powerful than information. And so
you're right.
When someone has, because there's a lot of people in America that have been privy to or been a part of racial discrimination or whatever. There just are. Racism exists. I don't think it's this pertinent institutional crap, but it is there. And if someone has had that a part of their life, then it's hard to you know what I'm saying? Like you have we need to empathize with them that they have experienced it.
Yeah.
And then I'm quick to dismiss it as saying, well, you understand it's not really here when you look at the stats. Whereas I understand that is pretty cold to them, because because there is a chance that they have legitimately experienced it, and we need to understand that, and we need to kind of understand. Yes, statistically, not really a thing, but it has happened to you, and if it has happened to you, I'm on board. I think the vast majority of Americans would be on board. And again, it's the part of pointing out institutional racism or pointing out specific racism.
Yeah.
Like the specific racism is easy because we can go after, we know if we have proof, we can see it, like we have seen in some of the shootings, we can say, okay, this is bad. Yeah. We could all rally around this and say this is bad. But then it gets lumped into institutional, and they use that as an example to say all cops are bad or whatever. Yeah. And then we're like, well, wait, I'm on board for this one instance. I'm not necessarily on board to blanket state all cops and to kneel against all cops. But that's where the nuance is lost, where it's either one or the other. It's either you hate this real instance of racism, and you have to agree that it is systemic, and you have to kneel. And it's like, well, no, I agree with part of what you said and part of what they said. And I think there's another place we can be at where we take a little bit, we take the facts.
Yeah,
and exactly. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that not a lot of people are capable of doing that. And if you're listening to this, one takeaway of it would be is that, if you're ever come across a situation like this, take the time to analyze it and figure out what's true or not. Because
talk to people.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I guarantee you, and I know this, is a lot of people would think, oh, well, all of these football players are kneeling for the anthem. I can guarantee you they're not being racially oppressed. They're making millions more dollars than I am. That's going to be their argument. But it's, hey, maybe this person was at this time in their life, or maybe they knew someone growing up who was shot by a cop unjustly. It's statistically very, 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 very low that's going to happen, but maybe it happened to that person.
Well, even if it is statistically low, because we are such a big country, that doesn't mean it doesn't happen to a lot of people.
Sure.
It could happen to 0.1%, and that still be millions of people.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's that, like, that's relevant, and you don't know. Like, for instance, if they're with the sexual assault causes with Harvey Weinstein, and Terry Crews came out and said, yeah, I agree, there's sexual assault problems, that is like, sounds like he's kind of on the bandwagon. But then when you realize that he's actually been a victim of this, that's like, okay, like, all right, it holds more weight to me, and it's like, this is an instance where it's real.
I think some of the problem is that people, and we've talked about this before, if someone has experienced some kind of tragedy, then they're an expert on it, and what they say is true for everyone. So like, you have to be smart enough to realize, okay, maybe this horrible thing happened to this person or someone they know, and that's awful, but is it realistic of society, or is it realistic of society as a whole? And no, it's probably not, unless it's statistically backed up.
You have to
but you can still recognize that that's something bad that happened to that person, but you also can't, make major changes to society in the way that organizations work based on one horrible thing.
That's the other thing, is you don't make decisions based on emotion legislatively.
Absolutely.
That's just a bad, pretty much there's no instance where that's a good thing. Like, you just, it's always better to wait and just give it a little bit.
Look at the facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Right?
Because like, I would think it's kind of wrong to go up to someone that had someone killed in the Las Vegas shooting.
Yeah, sure.
And then to tell them it's okay that they have assault rifles. Like, it's fine, that's just not the place to say it, you know? Give them time.
Absolutely.
Don't make decisions based on what happened there, but also don't rush them, because you're just going to make an enemy, because they are dealing with a loss profoundly more than you could probably feel if their person.
Or imagine.
Because the chance is you probably haven't had someone shot down like they have.
Yeah.
So it's empathy, it's conversation, it's talking with people, it's understanding the other side, and it's all these things that it just sucks that are lost nowadays.
Yeah.
And it's really gotten me frustrated. And it has to do with Eminem too, because I know the Eminem situation. I understand Eminem, and it's like these people that are all mad at him now, and it's like, it's just so not surprising. And it's like, you understand who Eminem is. I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean,
it's super frustrating. And I hope more people can understand and talk and have conversations, because like, I listened to a recent debate between Dennis Prager, who is a Jewish conservative, and Howard Zinn, who's I don't know how you describe him, a communist Marxist.
Yeah, more of a socialist, he's progressive.
Super far left. But they had a good freaking debate.
It was incredible.
Good conversation. They both just talked about things. They were clear to define their stances on what they thought of certain things, and they didn't always agree. And obviously, one's a conservative, one's a far left. But they were like able to clearly speak about what they said, and they knew what they were talking about, which again is another thing. I think a lot of people don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I think they get caught up in the hoopla and the anger and the riots, and they just think, well, there's a lot of people here, so what we're doing must be right.
Absolutely.
And it's like, well, maybe take a step back and realize maybe burning down Berkeley isn't a way to fight
maybe not
fascism and say that you're fighting fascism.
If you even know.
I don't know. Maybe not calling a conservative a white supremacist, because maybe not everybody on the right's a white supremacist. Might be a good start.
100%.
Maybe listen to what they freaking say instead of assuming.
No, and last point on this, because I know we're both super passionate. It's going long, but people I think oftentimes think that they have to raise the level of vitriolic speech in order to get the point across. You know what I mean? Like, they're not being good enough if they don't label this person a Nazi, or they don't label this person a communist, and you don't have to do that. Like, I would encourage you to go back and listen to some of Dennis Prager's interviews, especially the one with Howard Zinn. You can just search it. Good. And they had vehement disagreements about very important topics, very civilly.
Yep. No one wanted the other one to die. No one called the other one a supremacist.
No, absolutely not. And at the end of it, they joke like, "Oh, this is a good conversation. Are you still okay?" They're like, "Yeah, I'm still alive. Fancy that." Yeah. It's crazy.
Crazy.
And that's what I would love to see us get back to.
Right.
Because the issues that we're debating about today are just as important as the issues that were debated about decades ago. But the rhetoric has exponentially changed and been expanded.
Yes, and you don't win a conversation by labeling someone something horrible. You win a conversation by supporting your stance and dismantling the opponent's stance.
Absolutely.
And that's also lost. It's nowadays it's the loudest you are, the most vulgar you are, the most ridiculous you are. Oh, you won. No, that's not how it works.
Yep. Well said. All right, guys. Well, we're going to end it there. Be sure and tell us what you guys think in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you have to say. With that being said, we're going to move right into what triggered us this week. All right, guys, we are back, and we're going to wrap up this week's podcast, as we always do, with the What Triggered Us section. This is, of course, where we replace all logical and rational thinking with only emotions. And we're going to kind of run through this pretty quickly because we went pretty long on that main topic. But I'm going to go first. The first thing that I had was I read a story that California now is making HIV, or I guess beforehand you would have to notify somebody if you had an STD.
If you were going to have sexual relations with someone,
you would have to tell them, hey, I have an STD, I have HIV, to let that person know because, hey, maybe they don't want
kind of a
whatever
big deal.
You got. You know what I mean? But I guess I don't know what prompted this, but California has come out and said that, okay, now it's no longer a felony for someone to donate.
Well, yeah. There's a couple parts, right? Because there's the one part about saying if you not telling someone you have HIV and then having sex with them is no longer a felony. It's now decriminalized. It's a misdemeanor. Because why is it a big deal? And now also giving someone blood that is HIV infected is also a misdemeanor.
That's a problem.
That is a problem.
That's definitely a problem.
And they were saying, well, because we want to kind of tone down the rhetoric of HIV because it's no longer a death sentence. It's more of a societal problem, not really a health problem. It's like, I have a hard time believing you, and I have a hard time being on board with this.
Yeah,
like,
and nobody would just be like, oh, you're right. You know what? That's okay. I'll take some HIV.
Yeah, or not knowing. Like, yeah, it's messed up. The fact that you can give someone HIV and not be punished, that seems like a punishable offense. I'm sorry, 100%. I do not 100%. Think that that's okay.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean,
California's
it's a super
crazy. They should just secede. No,
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
What had you?
This one was awesome, bro, man. Okay. So, this would happen earlier this week. The Dolphins offensive lineman coach, right, Chris Forrester, freaking genius, right? This guy got fired. To start, he got fired because a stripper released a video that he sent her privately of him doing coke. And not only doing cocaine, but also doing it right before a meeting. And, like, talking about how he loved her and he wished he was doing this on her. It was really kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Snorting lines. And then he put out a statement, and he said, well, after he got fired, he said, I am resigning from my position. I accept full responsibility for my actions, and I want to apologize to the organization. And my sole focus is on getting the help that I need with the support of my family and medical professionals. He didn't look like he felt bad about doing it.
If he has any kind of support from his family, that family is much kinder than I would be.
Really? Because, see, I think it's not a big deal. I personally think drugs should be legal. If you want to do whatever you want to your body, I could care less.
Sure, but if he's married and he's saying, oh, I wish I was snorting this coke on
True,
this
but you can have family and not be married.
Yeah, you can.
But he's just kind of an idiot, and like we were talking about, so we were talking about Google spying on you. He freaking said it himself.
Yeah,
he's an idiot. And this stripper was saying that like she wanted to make a statement about all the people having a problem, people kneeling, yet the coaches are doing these horrible things. And I have a hard time believing that she thinks doing coke is bad when he talks about wanting to do coke on her. It's probably something you've done before.
Yeah,
and she didn't have a problem about it before.
Well, she probably got some.
We're not going to get into the ethics of that, but freaking, this is an idiot, right? So I just wanted to take a shout out to this guy. He's an idiot. The Dolphins did win their game last week, which was awesome because my brother was at the game. So Andrew, make sure you come to all the games now so we continue winning. Go to that Super Bowl. Although I don't think the Dolphins will ever get to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I know, right? But so yeah, just a freaking idiot. But I mean, he'll be fine. He was one of the highest paid coaches.
Yeah,
but
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, just I think I honestly personally
who makes a video of that?
Right, snorting lines, and then being like, I'm right before I'm going into a meeting. Like you had to say that,
dude. If I was dumb enough to be doing coke right before I'm going into a meeting, I wouldn't be recording it, man, and I definitely wouldn't be sending it to other people that I don't know.
Saying, "Oh, I love you. I wish I was doing it with you." Just it's a fascinating life the other side lives, you know. Just ridiculous.
So we will end it with that story, guys. As always, thanks for your support. We really appreciate it. Be sure and check us out on iTunes and Google Play. You can find our podcast there as well as YouTube. Subscribe to it. Leave us a review on iTunes and Google Play. That really helps us out. Until next week, guys, always remember, stay informed.